Hi guys, welcome to my video. Thank you for being here. This is going to be a quick varnishing tutorial, but I'm not going to edit it. I'm not going to do anything fancy with it because I have an arts walk tomorrow. So this is the camera angle you're going to get from me, but I've been wanting to do a tutorial and I think this painting is going to varnish very nicely. So I'm going to show you how I get almost resin-like varnishing with using a high gloss varnish. So it's kind of a long process, but we're just going to take it one coat at a time, and you can follow along with me and see if you like my results. Okay, so first I'm going to do is wipe this just to make sure that there is no little dust, because it will show up in your varnish and that will suck. And even no matter how much preparation I take, sometimes I still get a little hair. My table is dirty because I've already been varnishing satin paintings. Then I'm going to take this wet part of my towel and just wipe it up just to make sure there's no dirt or anything on it. I already have varnish on my table, so I'm trying not to let my towel touch the varnish that's on the table. I just thought at the last minute, oh shoot, I wanted to do a varnishing tutorial, and I'm already midway through varnishing, so you get me a hot mess the day before an arts walk. But that's my usual get down. Okay. So with my first coat of varnish, I'm going to use my Liquitex High Gloss Varnish. I'm actually going to use, okay. And I just got this little, I got this little sponge and I covered it with a nylon to give it like a smooth surface. And this is what I'm going to use for maybe my first 2 or 3, sometimes even 4 coats of varnish. I'm going to do this and I'll wait 3 hours in between each coat before I put on the next coat. So step 1 is going to be to just put a little bit of varnish here and in the middle. And then, I'm going to take my sponge, kind of bend it like that so it's flat, and then I'm just going to run it straight across. I'm going to go back over where it looked dry, and I'm just going to slowly work my way up. If it looks dry, I'm going to cover back over it. It's okay if on this first coat doesn't look exactly perfect, but I'm going to get it as good as I can, because I'm going to go back over it again and again and again. Now, I wouldn't stop on this first coat. I'd at least do 4 coats to get a nice look, but the more coats you do, the shinier it gets. All right, so that's coat number 1 done. I'm going to wait 3 hours and then I'll come back and we'll do coat number 2. I actually just realized that I didn't do the sides, and you do want to do the sides. My canvas is a thick canvas, so my sides are going to show as shiny as my actual painting itself. So I want to make sure that I varnish it all the way around and include my sides. Okay, now on to coat 2 in 3 hours. Okay, I'm back one more time. I realized I didn't say, but make sure you rinse out your sponge after each coat with cold water. The hot water is going to make the varnish dry immediately. You're not going to be able to get it off. You're going to need a new sponge. So rinse it with cold water and make sure you get all the varnish out of it. It should be, even if it's a little damp on your next go around, it should still be fine. Okay, now for reals, on to the second coat. So with this coat, I'm going to go in the opposite direction of what I did the first time. The first time I went this way, this time I'm going to go this way. So, let's start. Let me see, I got to work around the camera. So I'll start up top here. 1 and 2 should be enough, because these are just thin layers of varnish. And I'll start here at the bottom and just do the same thing that we did on the first coat, but just going this way, up and down. Go all the way across. And then for coats 3 and 4, you're gonna do the same thing. Just repeat coat 1 and repeat coat 2, switching directions each time. And then I will be back for coat 5 after this. All right, so that's done. And now we let it wait for 3 more hours. All right, now we're at coat 1, 2, 3, 4. This is coat 5, okay? So for coat 5, we're gonna do something different. We're gonna use this sponge brush, and we're gonna use this part of the pad to kind of push the varnish along the top of the canvas. So I'm just gonna give it a quick wipe, make sure no little dust is on here. And we're going to put a coat, put some here, here, and I'll put a little bit more up here. And as you work along, if you feel like you have not enough varnish, then you can always add more as you go. All right. So start at the bottom. Let a little bit of the varnish soak into my sponge so it's a little wet already. And then I'll push it up all the way to the top. Carrying the varnish with me as I go. I'm going to be careful not to let it spill over right here, because I want to keep it on the canvas and pull it back down. And really watch where the varnish moves. Now I'm going to move this over so I have it here. And I'm going to pull this up. Carrying all the extra varnish with me to the top. Again, not spilling over. And you can see where the varnish pulls over on the canvas. So you can grab it up and pull it back down with you. And same, I'm going to move that varnish over here. And then take this and just working slowly. And you want to make sure you don't overwork the same spot. Carrying it kind of lightly. Don't push the sponge too hard against the canvas. Just kind of glide it lightly across the top. Carrying it over. And back up. To the top. And pulling this back down. And I can see there's still a lot of varnish. You don't want too much varnish, like too thick of a layer. because it won't dry very good. It'll leave these weird ridges and ripples. I have messed up plenty of canvases. When you first start varnishing, I would do it on pieces that you don't really care that much about, just to practice. So now I'm going to go back and just scoop up any extra varnish that's still on the canvas, and now I am going to let it drop off at the bottom. This is my last go through just to smooth everything out. Drop it off, and I kind of like to grab the edge of the brush like this to make sure there's not a lot of varnish on it now, because I'm trying to smooth it all out. And I can see right in the middle of the canvas where there's still a lot of varnish on it. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but there's like a thick streak right there when I move my brush. So I'm just gonna go right back over that spot and smooth that out. After a while, you'll really get a feel for where the varnish is pulling up on the canvas, so you can drag it back down and smooth it out. And now again, I'm not using the tip, I'm using this flat part of the brush. And I got this brush from Home Depot. You want to make sure these sponge brushes aren't too porous. This one doesn't have a lot of pores. You see, it's very flat. And I'll do this probably one more time. Sometimes I'll just keep doing it until I'm happy. But this will be the method we'll use for the rest of the varnishing. All the way down. Getting all that extra varnish off my brush. You don't want to rush it, but you don't want to work too slow either, because the varnish does dry fast. You don't want to go over the same spot too many times, because it will not be smooth. It'll start having a lot of ridges. And it's fine if you notice that one spot you went over too many times, just don't go over it again. And on the next coat of varnish, you'll be able to fix it. The next coat will hide small, what do I want to call them? Not mistakes, but like, I guess overworking. It'll hide it. See right there, it's a little overworked now, so I don't want to go back over that spot. But right here, I can see there's still a lot of varnish, so. Oh, I'm starting to make lines. Okay, I'm going to stop there. I am going to do my sides. And then this part is very important. There's lots of air bubbles. So you're going to need the torch and just torch them out. Don't go over the same area. Don't hold the torch in the same area for too long. It will make the varnish bubble, and that's something you're not going to be able to fix later. It will show. So just go back and forth, and you'll be able to see your little bubbles popping. But there'll also be parts of the canvas or parts of the varnish where it left like a little, it looks like a bubble, but it's not a bubble. I don't know why that happens. And those, if it's not popping, then don't go over and over and over the same spot. If it's not popping, it's not popping. Just leave it alone. And I'll even do my sides because sometimes bubbles can form right along the edges. And then what I like to do at this point is pick up my canvas and just kind of tilt it back and forth, just to make sure it's all even. I don't know if that helps any, or if it's just in my head that it does, but that's what I like to do. All right, so that's it for, what coat is this? 5, for coat 5, and we're gonna come back for coat 6. I forgot to mention that when I'm done with the varnishing and I'm gonna get ready to move it and put it in a place where no hair can get to it, but I'll run my finger gloved underneath the canvas like this, because the varnish can sometimes have little droplets still at the bottom, and when that happens they dry underneath there and it just looks ugly. So that's a mention. All right, back for the 6th coat, and I don't know if this 6th coat's gonna be my last coat. We'll just kind of go with the flow on it, but it's already looking so nice, especially on a black background painting. This method of varnishing really levels up the painting, in my opinion. I love my paintings to just look so shiny and beautiful. So, I mean, you could technically stop here if you wanted to, but I am not going to. We're just going to keep on going. So this time we're going to go in the opposite direction. We're going to go this way because last time we went that way. So when I use this brush, I start putting the varnish at the bottom of the painting where I'm going to move the varnish upward. But when I use that sponge at the beginning, I do it from the top and wipe downward. You can do it any way you want, but that's just that's what I've found to work the best for me. And I just recently started using that round sponge to put on the first couple of layers. I used to use this sponge for all layers, but with those first couple of coats of varnish, I found that I'm going to put a little bit more here just to make sure I have enough to glide. But like I was saying, I found that with this brush, it would just leave too much varnish on a painting that had like really no varnish. So I don't know, it would just leave it really clumpy in spots. And I would notice that once I started to get to the 3rd coat, the 4th coat, then my varnish started to move better. So I started using that little swipe method with the round small brush, just with a little bit of varnish for the first couple of coats, and I think that method is so much better. I don't have so many issues with my first couple of coats that way. But yeah, I'm just doing the same thing I did before, scooping it up and smoothing it back down without letting too much spill over the ends. Push it kind of like a little push broom. See, I see it pulling right there in the middle, so I'm just gonna push that over this way, like that. I'm kind of scooping it up, stopping at the top and pulling it right back down and scooping it over. Slow and steady. Kind of reminds me of like a Zamboni or something, just smoothing out the ice. But in this case, we're smoothing out the varnish. I'm just pushing it to the top and then pulling it back down. And that has a lot right there, so we're gonna scooch it this way, pull it down. I can see where my brush leaves little lines that I don't like. I'll just go over it again to smooth it back out. You just gotta make sure if you go over the same spot again and again, you have to make sure there's enough varnish to keep doing that, because if it doesn't have a lot of varnish in that area, like that last swipe I just did, I could feel that there wasn't a lot of varnish there, but it smoothed out nicely, so I don't need to go back over it again. But in some areas I can literally see, like right here it looks extra white, so I can tell there's a lot of varnish on that spot. So I'm just going to swipe it down. Remember, I'm just wiping it here just to make sure there's not a lot of varnish on my brush, so I can scoop it back down, level it out. And this is going to be my last coat for today, for sure, because I have my arts walk today. And I got to have everything ready to go by 2. And it is 10 o'clock in the morning right now. I was up varnishing after work at midnight last night. Well, really 1 in the morning. So I'm just throwing this varnishing video like in a last minute, let's just record myself varnishing this AC/DC painting. This is a commission I got. I always feel like I have to talk super quiet when I'm trying to concentrate and talk at the same time. It's like super subdued, my voice. But I gotta focus and talk to you at the same time. And you see, that's just, I'm gonna keep doing that. And if you, I don't know if you can see on camera, but right here you can see the line where it's blacker, and then right here it's super cloudy. That's because there's still a lot of varnish right there. So I know I have to scoop that up and even it out. I don't like that line right there, so I'm gonna go super light. Like I'm barely holding on to the brush. It's just resting along the side. Oh, it keeps leaving a line right there. And this is the last coat I want to do today, so okay, one more here. I'm only going over and over this spot because I know there's a lot of varnish here. I can see it. And it keeps leaving lines in the painting because there's too much varnish on this side. Okay, that's starting to look better. Good, good, good. Oh, there's still a line right there. Why is there hair? Oh my gosh. Okay. Whew. That was stressing me out. This is a commission I got. My neighbor loves AC/DC, and it was his idea, like, can you do something with the AC/DC logo in the middle? I was like, I for sure can. But I never did letters like this freehand before. So I am pretty proud of this one. I spent a long time working on this. And it still looks a little white right there, but I don't want to risk going over and over that spot and then having a dramatic streak in it. I don't know if this tilting method, I just started doing that, and I don't know if I'm going to recommend doing that, so don't do that. I don't know if it's working for me or not. Okay, and this is just getting all the extra little air bubbles. I see some right there. But again, don't go over the same spot over and over. I already said that, but that is so important because I've burned my varnish before doing that. And I have my flame on right in the middle. You don't want it too high, but you don't want it too low either. Okay, that's going to be the last coat for today. I don't know if I'm going to do another one, but I guess you guys will find out in a minute to you. I've got an arts walk to do today, so I might come back on and do another coat, depending on how this looks when it dries. But that might be it. We'll see. All right. I will be back shortly. All right. And here we are. I decided not to put more varnish on it because this is a commission, and I told my neighbor that it would be ready today. So, but we could do another couple coats and it would be even shinier. But this is with what we've done. And especially on black, it really makes it pop. And so there you go. That is how I varnish my pieces. Thank you for watching my rush job on this. And until my next video, bye.